Hi, I'm Holliday, and this is Chloroform and Chillz. I'm on my boneless couch, and I am here with my first official YAP sesh. I know I have other ones on my channel, but this is the official first ever one that I am going to do now every other week instead of a full case. This week, while I was driving, I was able to listen to a full season of Counter Clock. Now, what is Counter Clock? Counter Clock is a long form podcast that does a case each season and does, I think, about 8 episodes or more in the season. They're all uploaded at once, and it's from Audio Chuck Productions or Audio Chuck on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and it's produced by the woman named Ashley Flowers. Yes, if you know that name, she does Crime Junkie. Yes, she's one of the hosts of Crime Junkies, and I believe she produces a few other podcasts as well. And this one, the investigative journalist, was Delia D'Ambra. Hope I said her name right. Sorry, Delia. This season was about the Bryant murders. The Bryant murders that happened in 2008 in Tinley Park, Illinois. Listen, I am able to listen to the full thing all at once only because I'm a truck driver. I drive at least 8 hours or 12 hours a day. So I was able to listen to all of it. And boy, I never heard this case, okay? I was shocked to hear that there was a mass shooting. Well, not a mass shooting in the US, not shocked about that, but I just never heard about it. In 2008, and I've always been somebody that's listened to true crime. When I was younger, true crime started with Forensic Files, right? I think that's where it started for a lot of us. So yeah, I never heard this case, but I want everybody to go in the description and go listen to the full podcast, because I'm just going to tell you how I feel about the case and the information that I heard, how I interpreted, where my brain went when I heard it, because these are supposed to be my full-on YAP sesh, minimal edits, nothing too crazy, but I do have some notes so I can try to stay on task a little bit about a few things, because I do have some thoughts, comments about how the investigation went, not the information that was given, but how the FBI and how Tinley Park went about the investigation into these murders. So what is the Bryant murders, right? It's February 2nd, 2008. Bryant is just opening up in the morning. Was it in the morning? I don't even remember if it was in the morning. No, it was in the morning. They were just opening up because the case starts off with interview a store manager right next to the Bryant. I think it's called Sally's Hair or whatever. She was there in the morning when the shootings happened. But what happens is at 8, 9, 10 in the morning, a man walks into Bryant. He spends about 40 minutes inside of it, and then he shoots up the place. He ends up killing 5 out of 6 people that morning. It's ridiculous what happened that day. And there was a survivor. The survivor was able to create a sketch. And, you know, the ins and outs of how they would investigate in case was a little different. But first, I want to pay respect to the people that were deceased. So I'm going to read their names off. And I pray that they are resting. None of their energy was left in the Bryant building or anything. I hope they are in heaven or wherever they want to seek peace. Because to be killed violently and tragically, I feel like can leave some of your energy, but I want to believe that once this life was over, they were able to go to a better place. The 5 victims that were killed that morning were Jennifer L. Bishop. She's from Indiana. She was just visiting. She was 34 years old. Kiri Chiso, I don't know if I said her name wrong. I'm sorry. She was 33 years old and from Frankfort, Illinois. Rhoda McFarland, 42 years old, Joliet, Illinois. Sarah T. Sosfransky, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. She was 22 years old and she was from Oak Forest, Illinois. And Connie Wool, 37 years old, from Flossmoor, Illinois. 2 of these women were employees of Bryant. Others were customers searching for clothing that morning. Once these murders happen, it is unimaginable what happens. Actually, somebody in the Bryant was able to call the police. They only were able to whisper Bryant, and then the gunman started firing onto the women. But first, the gunman tied all the women up and laid them down and shot them execution style. Oof. After that, I think he took some money and then he ran away. But thank God to the person that was able to call 911, because a police officer was 300 yards away and was able to get there quickly and bring in more reinforcements. But the shooter ended up getting away. Even till this day, they have not apprehended the man that shot up the Lane Bryant store. Yes, he was in there for 40 minutes and just literally just walked off and was never found. And I will say the FBI, I will say, did a good job in trying to investigate this with Henley Park police. But I really felt like they were trying very hard to find a motive, because one of the store managers, her name is Rhoda. She had not, how can I say it? From what I heard from the podcast is that Rhoda had some issues with an old church, and possibly the church was allegedly doing some wrong dealings with some money and getting loans and X, Y, and Z. And the FBI tried to see if the old church basically put a hit out on Rhoda. And when they saw that that was kind of a dead end, they then went to Rhoda's boyfriend, who used to be in the gang life, to see if somebody in his past tried to basically kill Rhoda. I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get why we're going those avenues, but I don't know, when I was listening to the information, I thought they were just like really trying hard to really pin it on the boyfriend at one point, because he had like a rough past, but now he's a good upstanding citizen. So it was like it was a little weird how they did that investigation, how they went about it, because nobody else in the store that died that day, or the victim that survived, the FBI didn't like really, I guess, deeply go into their past. But I'm assuming that they didn't deeply go into their past is because they obviously didn't have any criminal activity or anything to show that maybe this person was targeted or maybe this person was targeted. So I get what they were doing, but I think what needs to be said is that, sometimes people are just evil. Yeah. There doesn't always have to be a connection. People are just evil. For example, Richard Ramirez. He just was going around killing people because doors were unlocked. There was no MO, no nothing, no victim profile. He was just doing stuff. I think we have to be mindful of that, but this is also 2008. We are now in the future. I know that most of the time when somebody commits a crime, when it's an act of violence or murder, it's usually somebody that's close to you. But this just wasn't the case here for the Lane Bryant shooting. I think with this case, FBI and police need to come to terms that like some people are just sick and evil. That's it. Because there is actually a little bit more of the 911 call that happened from Lane Bryant. They do not play it all. They only play snippets so we can hear the perpetrator's voice and see if we recognize it. And you can listen to that on the podcast at Counterclock. What they do is they play it and you kind of hear how the guy is very, I guess, nervous, manic, because he says constantly that he's about to lose it. And once he said that, I know it sounds very 100% judgy. It just made my brain think, is this person mentally ill? Did we ever think about this is just a mentally ill person that's probably more having a nomadic life and just walking around so you can't find them? There's actually a serial killer who would use trains to get around, I believe, the US or a state, and he would kill random people, and he would get away with it for so long because he had a nomadic life. I just think it was crazy how everything went down and how they were just not able to catch the person, because the victim that survived, they actually put her in witness protection and she was able to describe a sketch to a sketch artist. I'm going to put the sketch up, and I will say this sketch is a really good sketch, and it looks like it could be somebody that you would be able to recognize very soon, very quickly. But we also now, from 2008 to now, we found out sketches don't always work, or they're not very helpful, because during a very traumatic incident, your brain can really mess up your thoughts. I'm not saying that this survivor didn't do a good sketch, but what we know now is that sketches can do a little bit more harm than good, but the sketch is very detailed. I will say that. Also, the sketch is of an African American man that could be anybody in Illinois or Tinley Park. Tinley Park is actually not that far from Chicago. So who knows what could have been going on. It was rough, but I will say the people at Lane Bryant did do a really good job. Immediately when this incident happened, the CEOs and CFOs, everybody flew out. They wanted to talk to all their employees. They offered them severance severance pay. They offered to pay for the funerals for the people that were killed. And they also, I believe, offered employees, if they didn't want to take severance pay and they wanted to work, they offered them a transfer to a new store. And they also made Lane Bryant Foundation for the women that were killed that day in the Lane Bryant store. And also, they added money to a fund that will help people get the word out and try to capture this person. I believe the reward as of this year is $200,000. Lane Bryant, I believe, added $55,000. So very supportive and taking care of their employees when this all happened. I think they even offered them like guidance counselors or therapists or something like that so they can really work through what was going on. It was rough, especially for the survivor of the shooting. Police ended up putting that survivor in police protection while they were doing an investigation because they were scared that the man would come back and try to kill her, like finish it off, because they didn't know what they were working with in the beginning. But as time went on, they realized that this man wasn't coming after her and they could let her go free. They never named this person because I think she does need some peace after going through something so traumatic and doing all she could to help catch the guy. Yeah, so that is the podcast that I binged this week. I did not forget, we do have a Lego set of the week. This is the Lego set of the week. This is the Pixar lamp that I did, and it was a fun build. It was great. It was fun. It was a nice build. It was very nostalgic, so this will be in the description below. I do want to redo our missing person of the week. I would like for it to be, again, the person we did last week, which was Olive or Olivia Kennedy. She is 13 years old and she was last seen May 9th, 2026. She's 5'5", approximately 157 pounds. She has brown hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a yellow shirt with black shorts. I just want to redo that one because technically this isn't like a full video. This is just our YAP Sesh week or whatever, and I think she should be highlighted again because we still haven't found her, and the youth of Philly does need eyes on them. So I just want to redo hers this week again, and then next week we'll have a new person. But Olive or Olivia is still missing, so let's still keep our eyes out for her, guys. That is our YAP Sesh about the Lane Bryant murders that happened in 2008. Please go listen to the podcast Counter Clock. You can find it anywhere. The link's in the description. And please, I enjoyed it. I hope other people enjoy it, especially if you never heard it. Who would ever think that somebody would shoot up a Lane Bryant store? Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you later. Bye.